Oftentimes, the unthinkable happens to those who are completely unaware or taken off guard by a stranger or a sudden event. But what about those times when the unthinkable happens at the hands of someone you thought you knew? This is the story of 25-year-old Shanquella Robinson. Los Cabos has become the third most popular destination in Mexico for international tourists. Located at the southern tip of Mexico's Baja California Peninsula, it is often an attractive place to visit for people looking to have fun while enjoying the beautiful, sunny, warm weather. Such is the case of a group of friends that included 25-year-old Shanquella Robinson, a business owner and model from Charlotte, North Carolina, who accompanied 6 friends she'd known since her college days at Winston-Salem State University. Upon arriving in Cabo, the traveling party arrived at their reserved stay at Villa Linda 32. Shanquella would call back home and speak over the phone with her mother, Salamandra Robinson. The two spoke briefly, and before ending the call, Shanquella would tell her mother that her and the group of friends were about to leave and go get something to eat. The very next day, on October 29th, Salamandra would receive another phone call, this time from one of her daughter's friends. "Her friends called me," she said. "They said that Shanquella had alcohol poisoning and that a doctor was on their way to the villa to provide medical assistance." Thinking back in hindsight, Salamandra thinks about that moment she received that phone call and wonders how the people who traveled there with her, none of whom were a doctor or nurse, were able to diagnose her with alcohol poisoning. At the time of the call, Salamandra would repeatedly attempt to coerce her daughter's travel companions to immediately take her to a doctor. But her pleas were met with claims that the villa's manager was already en route with a medic. Shanquella's mother would go on to say that she is still unsure to this day if a medic ever arrived because she was never allowed to speak to them despite repeatedly asking over the phone. Her pleas were again met with claims that the medic was now with her daughter trying to provide aid. While on the phone, suddenly the commotion coming from the group in the background of the phone call fell silent. The phone call abruptly ended. When they called Salamandra back this time, it was to inform her that her daughter had now died. Shocked and dismayed from that moment on, Shanquella's mother and father were under the impression that their daughter had died from alcohol poisoning. Days passed, and the group of friends who traveled with Shanquella to Mexico were returned back home to the United States, and among them, only some came to visit the woman's parents. Upon returning, Salamandra was able to ask the group in person about what happened at the villa that evening, to which they all once again assured her that Shanquella had passed from alcohol poisoning. This next part of the story is where the group's version of events that took place in Cabo would begin to fall apart. The Monday following the young woman's death, Shanquella's father, Bernard Robinson, would place a call to management at Villa Linda in Mexico. It took quite some time for him to finally get into contact with someone who spoke English and could help him transport his daughter's body back home to the United States. He would eventually come into contact with a woman who spoke English from the management team, where he would first learn the truth of his daughter's death. While speaking with him over the phone, she said, "Mr. Robinson, your daughter didn't die from alcohol poisoning. She died of a broken neck." Now shocked, bewildered, and riddled with more questions than ever, Shanquella's father sat, unable to process what he was just told over the phone. In the days following, things began to take an even more bizarre turn when a video depicting a brutal assault on Shanquella from one of her traveling companions would surface and set the internet ablaze. This video was apparently being recorded by one of Shanquella's male companions, and it depicts a grisly scene of Shanquella being thrown around the room and repeatedly struck by another female. There's a point in the video where you can hear the male yell out for Shanquella to fight back, to which she refuses and continues to sit on the floor in the nude, covering her body from the blows as best she can. Her father, who by this time was actively shopping for a gravesite to bury his daughter, was made aware of the viral online video, where he watched and was brought to tears in what appeared to be his daughter's final moments. November 4th, Shanquella's parents would receive her official autopsy report from the coroner's office, and the official cause of death was said to be a result of a severe spinal cord injury and a dislocated neck. In order to give a timeline of events that transpired the day of Shanquella's death, I'm going to break away from the story for a moment to detail a few of the things that transpired according to one of the latest police reports. It's reported that Robinson's friend requested a medical consultation at 2:13 p.m. After a general practitioner from the American Medical Center arrived at the villa, Robinson's friend told the medical professional that she had drank too much alcohol. Medical personnel said that they noticed Robinson had poor verbal response, was in a state of drunkenness, and was dehydrated, but overall had stable vital signs. The medical professional at the scene advised Robinson's friends to transfer her to a hospital, but her friends insisted that they keep her there at the villa instead. At 4:20 p.m., Robinson began seizing, which for clarity is when sudden, uncontrolled body movements and changes in behavior occur because of abnormal electrical activity in the brain. It's reported that this is when one of Robinson's friends, Winter Essence Donovan, dialed 911. By the time emergency medical professionals arrived, Shanquella began having difficulty breathing and had a severe decrease in pulse rate. At 4:49 p.m., the general practitioner said they stopped feeling Robinson's pulse and began CPR until paramedics arrived on the scene. Once there, they continued with 14 CPR sessions and 5 doses of adrenaline, but ultimately were unable to stabilize Robinson's condition. She then went into an official cardiac arrest and was declared deceased at 5:57 p.m. Getting back to the events that followed after her death, 3 of the friends that arrived in Mexico with her were visiting with her parents. And as information from social media and the official report from the autopsy began to roll in, Salamandra turned to the group of friends that were now sitting in her home and asked them plainly, "People are saying you all jumped her, that there was a fight. What did you all do to my baby?" To which one of the males present reportedly became visibly shaken, began sweating, and abruptly left. The others followed until this day have not returned. I want to note here that prior to the damning video footage being made known to the public, at some point, Shanquella's mother said that all of her friends that went on the trip with her looked Salamandra in the face and told her that there was no fight in Cabo. With the evidence now still being shared across social media, Shanquella's parents now know this was a bold lie. What she yet does not know are the particulars of the events and the moments that led to the loss of her daughter's life. The female depicted savagely beating Shanquella is believed to be one of the ones responsible for her death. I want to cite a few things about this story. This is a case that has many sides. The video that has circulated throughout social media is one of cruelty, savagery, and cowardice. 5 people that were believed to be Shanquella's friends stood by and watched the horrific events that took place in that video. In another video, subsequently released after the brutal attack, there is an ominous recording of what is believed to be Shanquella walking about the villa, yelling out in search of the group of friends, before finding them all huddled together in one room, apparently in the middle of a discussion that's broken up by Shanquella entering the room. Because of this, and the fact that the recording of the assault started before the fight began, has led many to believe that there was in fact a plot set in motion before the group ever touched down in Cabo to potentially harm Shanquella Robinson. This again is speculation. There are several other rumors that have surfaced regarding her death that at this time remain unconfirmed. On November 28, 2022, it was reported that Interpol agents arrested one of the 6 friends who traveled with her, believed to be Dejanay Jackson. Dejanay, who was also believed to be the transgendered woman seen savagely assaulting Shanquella in the viral video. Despite these claims, however, and the viral spreading of this news, this has not been confirmed to be more than a rumor. I want to also note here that Shanquella's father also claims that he has not been made aware of any arrest made, and although Mexican officials have issued an arrest warrant, they have not publicly made it plain for whom. In the end, what we do know is that Shanquella Robinson departed from Mexico on October the 28th. She arrived safely, and by the next day, just before 6 p.m., she was pronounced deceased. Her story and the events that concluded her chapter are still a mystery, and her case is ongoing. Hello everyone, and welcome back. If you made it this far, I'd like to thank you for tuning in to episode 2 of the Unthinkable series. I urge you to stick around as we cover real stories, real evil, and the unthinkable. I felt that it was important to report on this story because it is one of true evil and is shrouded in a thick fog of mystery. Surely the unthinkable happened to Shanquella Robinson the day of her death, and hopefully her family receives the answers that they are longing for. As always, thanks for listening.